Hi, Prep Partners. Hard to believe, but here it is, Memorial Day weekend. I am just amazed how quickly time goes. I remember when I was a kid hearing older people say, the older you get, the faster time goes, and I'm finding out what they were talking about. Memorial Day. For all of you who have served in the armed forces, I just want to take a minute and just say thank you from the bottom of my heart. For all of you families who have experienced the loss of a family member during a time of military action. Uh, my dad was in World War II and had, I believe it was either two or three ships blown out from underneath him. Cheryl's dad was also in the Navy and um, had seen a lot of action in World War II. And I had an Uncle Herman who never made it home from World War II. So, to all you families who have had similar experiences, I want to thank you for your family members, your loved ones, for you who served, for you who have given, that we might live in a free country to worship God. We've been talking about the fact that we ought to be glad God is not a man, and this ties in very well with Memorial Day this week. Reason number 5, we ought to be glad God is not a man, is because man does not see things from God's perspective. If I were God, if God were a man, uh, I am moved and persuaded by the emotion of the moment. I make decisions based on the temporal, not on the eternal. And the Bible tells us in 2 Corinthians 4:18, while we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. God is able to see everything. He sees it from a much different perspective than we do. He is able to see the end from the beginning and the beginning from the end. The Bible also tells us in Revelation chapter 1, verse 8, Jesus said, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the ending, saith the Lord, which is and which was and which is to come, the Almighty. He's the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last. That's like saying the A and the Z. He was the one who created everything. He knew what had to happen in the middle for it to come out in the end the way he had it planned. And he knows the end from the beginning and the beginning from the end. He sees things from such a different perspective than we do. I'm amazed every time I fly in an airplane. You drive around down here on this earth, and it seems like fence rows just go here and there, highways up, down, left, right, all those kind of things. But when you get in an airplane and you're up about 30,000 feet and you look down, it is amazing how straight fence lines are that farmers put in. It is amazing how roads are straight out in the country that seem so curvy when you're driving on them. It is amazing how much different things look when you're up above looking down on it. And God sees things at such a different perspective than we do. I don't understand why God allows wars and hate and violence and all those things. I'm not saying God causes those things, but I'm saying he sees it from a much different perspective than we do. And he has a reason and a purpose to allow those things to happen. We've talked about that in the past. Um, why does God let bad things happen to good people? And the other side of that same coin is, why does God let good things happen to bad people? Sometimes it seems so unfair, but we see things from a completely different perspective than God does. There's been some things that have happened in my life that I have thought at the time it happened, God, why? How could you let this take place? How could anything good ever come of this? But then as time has gone by, then as I have looked back, I begin to see how God was able to take something that seemed very unfair and very difficult and very hard, and able to use that and turn things and make it a blessing. Only God can figure those things out, because he sees the end from the beginning, and he sees things at a much different perspective. He knows, again, he knows what happened in the beginning, how it's going to come out in the end, and he knows what needs to happen for it all to work according to his plan. He allows things that we don't understand. He can take a mess and turn it into a masterpiece. He is the one who can turn funerals into festivals, riots into revivals. He is a God who is able to take anything and use it for his glory. But it's so hard for us because we don't see things from God's perspective. If I were running this show, I wouldn't even be able to handle the weather. We've had kind of some turbulent stuff going on here in the last month or so. And if I were in control, I would think, no, that place needs more rain. This place needs less rain. They need this. They need that. And I'd have things so messed up. Have you ever noticed over the long haul, all this weather stuff seems to work out somehow, doesn't it? But God knows exactly what we need, when we need it, and he sees the end from the beginning, and he knows what needs to happen in the middle. So as we reflect on this Memorial Day, and we think about all those who gave their lives so we could be free, I choose not to think that their death was in vain. But there's a reason and a purpose. I may not understand it. I can't see it. But God knows. He is in control. He's on the throne. I am so glad that God is not a man. And I am so glad man is not God. I hope somehow during this weekend that you're able to gather with family and friends. And as you do, whether it's a barbecue or just getting together or doing something, having a meal together, whatever it might be, please take the time to pray for our elected officials. Please take the time to pray for upcoming elections. Please take the time to give thanks and remember those who have paid the ultimate price for our freedom, those who've given their life, those who have given limbs, those who have given so much so that we could be free and live in a nation where we have the choice to choose to worship God however we feel. I'm so thankful, glad God is not a man. God bless.